Okay. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Sunday Services. I'm Harvey Madison, and this is the announcement period that we usually have at the beginning of our service, and I want to mention several things this morning. One is a joy or a concern, I suppose. I want to get in right now, let you know that Larry Smith, if you hadn't heard, has had a serious fall and had to have surgery. He is now in a recovery facility, so the surgery went well, and so please keep him in your thoughts. Another item that I want you to know about is that your president and your board are working to keep the church going and keep the agenda running. This is the time of year when the church is pretty busy, and we're having to modify or skip some of those items. Sadly, we weren't able to have a canvas dinner, which is usually a lot of fun. But this time I've arranged for you to be sent a letter which will have a form in it for you to return your pledge for the coming year. This will allow us to set up a budget for the coming year, in which we will need to vote on that and elect new officers in a congregational meeting in some form or another. Not sure what form it's going to take yet. There are several variables that are going to control that. So we've got to work that out yet and see how it's going to happen. But in the meantime, look for a letter. Also, we have done something, my friend Clay Naff reminded me that our website may be the only church in America that doesn't have a donate button. So we are setting that up. I've asked Nikki to use her internet skills, her webpage skills, and get whatever help she can to set up a donate page. And if that's not up and running yet, it will be soon. So that's another way for you to fulfill your the church's financial needs for us. Okay. So please do keep those things in mind. We are monitoring the situation as to when we can come back and meet again in person. I'm anxious for that to happen. This is an unprecedented period of strangeness for us all. And we're paying attention to the scientists, not the politicians, on this. So we may come back a little bit later than other churches do, but we'll try to do it in the most reasonably safe fashion that we can. Okay, let's have our service.
Good morning, and welcome to the First UU Church in Lubbock. As part of the announcements, Harvey forgot to mention that you will be getting a letter, and in that letter we will also include information on the spring drive for KTTZ FM radio. Now, let's get to our opening words. The Peace of Wild Things, written by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Once again, we welcome you to the digital space of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Lubbock. We are a religious community of free minds, and all are welcome to join us. All are welcome. All the colors of the rainbow are welcome. Whatever definitions you have given yourself and whatever designations you have been given by others, you are welcome. Central to our identity as Unitarian Universalists is the concept of the free pulpit and the free pew. The free pulpit means that our speaker can speak the truth as she or he sees it. The free pew means that we as members are not required to agree with everything we hear. Unitarian Universalism draws from many sources and faith traditions. Our services are varied and diverse, as is our lay-led community. I hope that some elements of the service comfort you, and that you will be open to new experiences. If an element of the service does not appeal to you, rejoice that someone else might be touched by it. I am Gail Madison, and I am your service leader today. Please take a moment to think about the people you love. Now reach out today. Text, call, email, video chat with someone for your mental health and for theirs. Each week we light a flame in our chalice as a symbol of our history and to celebrate our freedom of religious expression. Lisa Krebs will light the chalice today, our main chalice and our community chalice. Our chalice lighting words are from one of my favorite books. If you're a grown-up, you may not have heard of it, but it's called The Phantom Toll Booth. And in these times, these words are very important. So many things are possible just as long as you don't know that they're impossible. Now, for those of you who watched the service that we did last week, it was our Earth Day service and our Arbor Day service. And part of what we did was create a tree on which we are asking people to fill out the location of their very favorite tree. For instance, my favorite tree from my childhood was in a grove between McLaughlin Circle, the street that I lived on, and the St. Columban's Mission. It was a wonderful tree for climbing, for jumping out of, and just having fun with kids. Another person put down a tree in his grandmother's yard. We had someone from the comments last week, Latayla, wrote that her two favorite trees were one, a tree at her elementary school in San Diego, and two, a tree at her junior high in San Diego. So when we are able to get back together, or if you want to email, please tell us the location of your favorite tree, because we want to fill this tree up with the bounty of our love of nature. Now, this is a time that we do joys and concerns. Even though times are strange, we all have joys and concerns. One of the things I'm going to do right now is light a candle for Larry Smith to let him know that we're thinking about him. Yeah, right, I will. And I'm going to light a candle for Harvey and my sister-in-law, Marcy, who had some surgery this week in Waco. Please be thinking about the people that you care about. Think about what you're concerned about, but also think about what you are happy about. I will now place a stone for me and for all of you at home in our community candle. And then I will place another stone in it And for this, we are thinking about everything that is happening in the world right now. And now, a message from Lisa.
Hi guys. So I got this article sent to me by Sarah Reed, who did one of our services recently, and it's about gaslighting and getting back to normal. It's by Julio Vincent Gambudo. It's called Prepare for the Ultimate Gaslighting. And it inspired the service. It inspired me to want to kind of come back to dealing with reality a little bit, because we had a loss in our family during all of this. Not due to the virus, just due to already existing health issues. But I hope that this service inspires all of us to keep having these conversations about what's really going on, what problems we're really seeing. I'll send a link to Nikki. She'll send it along with the email she sends you guys, so you can read the whole of it. I'm just using pieces. Let's get to the good stuff, while really looking at the ugly truths that this situation has unveiled. So gaslighting, for those who are less familiar with the term, is manipulation into doubting your own sanity. This is what we as a community will be facing from big companies, media, and even the government. I want you to pull some strength from our fifth principle, the right of conscience, and the use of the democratic process within our congregation and society at large, to help us remember what we saw, what we experienced, what we're going through, that we are a part of a democracy which gives us a voice. So, normalcy, this concept of routine and feeling normal, is something everybody wants right now. All of us are dying to get back to what we know. Unlike a majority of you, I haven't lost most of my normal. I work in a job that is considered essential. I've still left my house every day and gone to work. And while we work behind closed doors, it's still a pretty normal feeling. We've seen some cleaning measures added, and we have gloves and masks available to us, but it's still normal. So, however normal or not normal things are, remember what you've experienced in this time. I also want to point out the normal for my office is we do not have use of our personal phones while we're on the clock, which for me is a good thing. I, like most of my generation, are addicted to my social media. I'm really glad I'm being broken of that. However, hard. Because it's allowed me to not do what so many of us are doing, which is opening our social media and scrolling through tragedy and drowning ourselves in this content. I worry for my friends and family who have done just this. You're right to be concerned, and you want answers and protection. I get that. We as a community need to come back together with solutions. Now, they're all long-term. It's a long road ahead of us. But don't forget our first principle, our prime objective, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. While we all have value, we may have different values and different solutions to this problem. So those of you who are fearful, don't feel undermined. You're okay to be scared. Same for those, though, that just want normal back so badly that they're okay with the risks and with having to find protective gear to be out because they need that out. Don't scoff at them either. We've seen that our health services are underprepared and underfunded. We've seen our businesses are out of money. Even our government's out of money. Just adding to the debt as they fund all these solutions. So let's come together as we have been to make a larger change. I've seen it firsthand. Somebody needed help. There's a million Facebook groups right now of neighborhood groups helping people, helping their neighbors, making sure those that are at risk don't have to add to their risk. We have solutions in place that, while inconvenient for some, may be the solution in the long term. I see no harm in letting there stand a seniors hour at the grocery store. I think it's great. They have less of a crowd and they can get what they need. They're the ones that really need stuff. And the rest of us can kind of do things as we need to and give that space. So social distancing is hard. I'm one of those people that craves people. I'm glad I work in a large office. I'm glad I get to at least experience others on a daily basis. So from that, though, we also need to remember that social distancing is there for the better of those who are compromised, are older, don't have the luxuries that some of us do. So one of those luxuries that we've seen and we've realized, though, is that while a lot of us are in positions of wanting change, we don't have time to make these changes. A lot of us feel this way. They want to affect change, but we lack the time. Well, here we are. The great pause in history. So let's make it really count. We have time now. What's your excuse? If you're like me, you don't really have time now. You didn't pause like the rest of the world. It's very strange, right? But those of you who did, take this time and enjoy it. And set your goals to add to the world community for peace, liberty, and justice for all of us. Our sixth principle. You see a theme here? We can enact our principles into a larger community and slow it down. It's okay. I know so many of you want a better future for your kids, your community, and the world. We've seen firsthand how destructive humans are on the environment. Just with less activity, we've cleaned up skies, allowed wildlife to come out into what was their home first. We've seen all kinds of things. We've seen how technology has kept us together with video chatting, meetings, even school. Kids are still going, kind of. They're still getting an education. Homeschooling is very different. For those that already homeschooled their kids, they're kind of getting more people on their bandwagon going, oh, this is why you homeschool. So I've seen and hung out with people that live all over the country, friends of mine, that we all used to live in the same state, blocks from each other, hang out every week. This epidemic has actually brought us back together. So for me, there's been some positives out of this, which we need to remember to look at. So as we open up and we want for normal pause. Stay paused. And really, I'm stealing this straight from the article, Marie Kondo your life. What have you really been missing? What really makes you happy? My family didn't eat out much as it was. We will keep not eating out. We will try to keep having a weekly video chat / gaming session with my friends who live all over the country. I realized I miss them, and I want that in my life again. I wish I could ride to work like a bike or a bus, but that's not really an option for me. However, I am more mindful of my unnecessary driving trips. I make a point of stopping at the grocery store on my way home from work. Just the little things can make a big impact. And if you can't do more than your own personal impact, that's okay. That's an achievement. You gotta start somewhere. For me, I will put down my phone more when I'm at home and spend more time with my kid. And I will keep being here for the church and my community because you've been missed. Your support is important to me. So take time to put back what you really need. And if you can affect change in a larger area than your life and your household, and you want help, I'm here to help you. So let's keep remembering and talking about what's happened and what is still happening. We're a part of a big point in history. Let's do something with it. Stay safe and make good choices, and remember to not get gaslit while we're waking up to normal.
And now you think it's time for closing words. It would be if it weren't for the fact that I forgot the children's story. So we are now going to have the children's story, which is Otis by Lauren Long. And you will note that Otis is a tractor, and there is a little baby calf right by him. There once was a friendly little tractor. His name was Otis, and every day Otis and his farmer worked together, taking care of the farm they called home. Otis liked to work. But after working hard all day, Otis was ready to unwind and play. He would ride the rolling hills and skirt mud pond down by the corn. He would leapfrog bales of hay and explode through the haystacks. On occasion, he would chase a rabbit or play Ring Around the Rosie with the ducks to the sound of his steady put-put-puttity-chuff. And sometimes at the end of the day, he would just sit under the apple tree and watch the farm below. Every night, tired but happy, Otis would puff into the little stall in the barn that was his. One night, when Otis was fast asleep, the farmer brought a beautiful baby calf into the barn. The calf bawled and bawled for her mother, but when the sleepy sound of a soft put-puff, puttity-chuff came from the next stall, the scared little calf stopped bawling and drifted off to sleep. From that day on, the calf started following the little tractor wherever he went. Put, puff, puttity-chuff. She followed him over the rolling hills and down by Mud Pond. She was right behind him, leapfrogging bales of hay. and the calf made their games of Ring Around the Rosie all the better. Sometimes at the end of the day, the two of them would just sit together under the apple tree and watch the farm below. Otis loved his little calf, and the little calf loved Otis. Then one day, the farmer surprised everyone with a brand new yellow tractor. "Time to move out, Otis," the farmer said. He took Otis out of the little stall in the barn that was all his and parked him back behind the barn. Then he backed the big yellow tractor into the stall next to the little calf. But the little calf didn't like the big yellow tractor. He had a deep, rumbling snore that shook the stall when he slept. There was no one to purr the little calf gently to sleep, no one to spend her days with. And Otis? Otis could not even see his farm as the weeds began to cover his tires. His friend often sat with him, but she could not get him to play like the old days. It was early summer when the farmer discovered a poster. "Who has the prettiest calf in the land? Judges will decide at the county fair and award a fancy blue ribbon to the winner." Well, the farmer knew the answer. He would show the little calf. But on the morning of the fair, the little calf was nowhere to be found. She had wandered down to Mud Pond by the cornfield to cool off. When she waded into the muddy water, her feet sank. With every step, she sank deeper and deeper and deeper. The little calf was stuck in Mud Pond. "Get the hands," the farmer shouted when he saw her. All the farm hands came running with their ropes, but the more they tugged, the more the calf got stuck. "Get the big yellow tractor," the farmer shouted. "He can save her." But the big tractor just scared the little calf. She sank in deeper and deeper. Nearby farmers began to gather. "Then call Fire Chief Douglas and the fire truck," the farmer shouted. "They can save our little calf." But the sight of the big red fire truck startled the little calf in even deeper. The farmer was fit to be tied. If the farm hands and the big tractor and even Fire Chief Douglas and his fire truck couldn't save the little calf, who could? Suddenly, the little calf's ears perked up. Over the hum of the growing crowd, there came a faint sound in the distance, a soft, rhythmic purr, put, put, puttity, chuff. The crowd turned and looked. The sound became louder, put, puff, puttity, chuff. And all at once, Otis puffed from around the barn. He turned and headed straight toward Mud Pond. Otis puffed down the rolling hill and pulled right up next to the muddy water's edge. The calf heard her friend's puttering purr and bawled. It was something like a hello. Then, to the sound of his gentle chuff and the amazement of all the people in the crowd, Otis slowly began to circle the pond. He circled, and the little calf turned and turned, never taking her eyes off of her friend. With each ring Otis made around Mud Pond, the muddy grip loosened until the calf was able to stumble out of the pond on her own. The two friends had found each other again. From that day on, the farmer discovered that with Otis's puttering purr beside the chicken coop, the chickens laid more eggs. At milking time, with Otis's gentle chuff nearby, his cows produced more milk. On occasion, Otis even got to join the farmer and the big yellow tractor out in the fields. But often, at the end of the day, Otis would just sit with his friend under the apple tree and watch the farm below. This is the time we need to remember friends. But now for our closing words. We live in a very strange time. One of the things that we do to help us understand, cope with, live with these strange times, I hope, is to go to poetry. And so we are going to go for our closing words to a poem, When I Am Among the Trees, by Mary Oliver. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches, and they call again. "It's simple," they say. And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. If Ted and Sarah were here, we would sing Carry the Flame. You don't want to hear me singing it, so I will say it. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Have a good week.